Hello everyone, I'm here with Matt Donald. He runs the patch here. They had over 50,000 people come out to their patch this year and to buy their pumpkins. And he's going to take a few minutes here to tell us a few key things to think about on growing the perfect pumpkin. Everybody wants to know, how do we grow the perfect pumpkin? Or if we're going to have a pumpkin patch or even just pumpkins in our backyard. What's the key points to growing a perfect pumpkin?
That's a great question, and it's something that is actually not as easy as you think. You can certainly go to like a Fred Meyer's store and pick up a package of seeds and go plant your pumpkins, but there's a little bit more to it than that. And I have 7 thoughts I can offer on what I think helps to grow the perfect pumpkin. The first thing would absolutely be the seeds that you buy. I joke with people about, well, you could go pick up a package of Ed Hume seeds at Fred Meyer's or something like that and put them in the ground, and they're probably going to grow, but you're not going to get that good of pumpkins out of those seeds. And a lot of times, what you find in the stores locally around your area are a very, very simple mainstream pumpkin seed. And what we found is we actually go to companies online that specialize in seeds, and they have very large catalogs, and they tell you all about what the pumpkins do, how they grow, germination times, what they're known for, how they're shaped, how they look. And so my number one bit of advice is invest in buying decent pumpkin seeds. You can also save pumpkin seeds, but a lot of them that are for sale now, they're not able to be replanted when you harvest them because they're genetically modified or engineered. And so you think, oh, I'll just save my seeds and I'll replant them. And the funny part of that is you get all kinds of strange looking things out of the ground from something like that. So there are varieties you can do that with, absolutely, but we found the better pumpkins are engineered pumpkins mostly, and you have to purchase them for a pretty decent price from somebody maybe online, and you can buy them in very small or large quantities. So
a smaller person could get small quantities.
Absolutely. Yeah, 25 seeds up to 10,000, 15,000 seeds. This year, I think we purchased around 60 to 70,000 seeds total. And so it takes us over a day just to go through the catalogs and pick them out each season. So soil. I think soil is sometimes forgotten. People think, oh, I've got dirt in my backyard. I can go grow a garden. I can go plant whatever I want. And you can do that. But it's really important that you first of all assess what your soil actually looks like. Does it drain very well? Does it have lots of sand? Does it have lots of clay? Things like that. Lots of stone or rock in it. And we're blessed at the patch in Woodland because we do have very sandy soil to grow the pumpkins in, which they really, really like. It also is very nice for the drainage to harvest the pumpkins. You can drive a truck in the field and not get stuck, for example, when it's raining outside. So make sure that you assess your soil, and if you have poor soil, you can always go buy something at a store, for example, to add to what you have to cultivate that soil. So don't just assume it's going to be good to go from the beginning without assessing it first. Fertilizer. Fertilizer is a very important thing to consider if you want to really make your pumpkins grow really large. If you want a lot of pumpkins to be produced out of only a few plants, things like that, and just for their general health. And I'd like to mention a couple things that we've done over the years. So we used to be a dairy farm and we use cow manure. We don't have that anymore like we used to. So we buy commercial fertilizer now. And there's what we call triple 16, and it's nitrogen, potassium, and it's phosphorus. There's basically equal parts of those items with filler that make up this fertilizer. And what you want is like a slow release nitrogen element to that. So we found with our pumpkins, if we do the triple 16 slow release and we water them with our overhead water system, they are using that fertilizer for a longer period of time that way. And you can throw it right onto the plants and on a hot day, and it's okay for the plants. It doesn't hurt them at all. It's used a lot in people's gardens at their homes as well, things like that. So, or your yard, your grass. Also, one season we tried Alaska fish fertilizer, and one of the funny things about that is it smells really, really bad. And it does help, especially in your garden, but be prepared for the smell of that stuff. So yeah, so I guess fertilizer in general is really, really important. But again, look at your soil, look at the seeds, and kind of bring those three items together to make the best decision that you can. A different tip I can offer when it comes to how you care for plants when they come out of the ground is consider not spraying them after they come out of the ground. So some people have said that you can buy 2 to 3 different kinds of spray to put onto your pumpkin plants, and that's okay, you can do that. But we found to grow the best pumpkin, don't do any spraying after they're out of the ground. And the key to that really comes down to what they're going to produce at the end of the season for your actual pumpkins themselves. And we've had a neighbor friend of ours that sprayed one season after they were up, and he got a bunch of deformed pumpkins.
So what are you talking about spraying on there?
Yeah. So I should back up for a second. So one thing that you might do is consider spraying like a Roundup product on your field before the seeds are out of the ground. Once they come out of the soil and the little leaves pop up, it's very important they not be given spray, in our opinion, after that. And so we go to what we call eco-weeding, and we have a machine that we use where we actually put it behind a tractor and we move spindles around the plants, and they're left alone at that point. If you spray them, it might be okay and they might produce all right, but we really don't know on a sustained level what that will do to those pumpkins by the end of the season. As far as how they'll look, the colors, the handles, will they rot fast, will they taste bad? We just don't know. So we basically have stuck to just spraying before they come out of the ground. Watering is a key element again with pumpkins like any other plant, and we've talked about this a lot this last summer exactly because of the heat. But basically, there's never going to be enough water unless you have a big system that can handle the really, really hot weather with lots of available water to draw from. So in our situation with 27 acres, we found that if the weather gets really hot, we'll watch the plants to see how they look. They wither in the late afternoon typically on a hot day. We don't run out and start the water immediately. We plan ahead of time. So let's say you water your pumpkins on like a Monday and it's hot for 3 or 4 days. You could probably water again the coming weekend and be just fine. You don't have to go water them every single day when they wither, because pumpkin plants really, really show the stress from heat. And so it's a key element with growing pumpkins. Take your time, assess them, water them appropriately, but don't overwater them. And if you overwater them, you can also get pumpkins that are very, very yellow when they produce. And we've had a couple seasons go by. We had a couple varieties that were bright yellow because they got too much water.
Okay, so it sounds like you're watering once or twice a week deeply, but not daily.
Yeah, in the heat of the summer, figure about once a week, maybe a little bit less than that, maybe a week and a half. And we're putting on, we figured about like an inch of water. We use a special nozzle for our traveler system that makes the water droplets not too big for the leaves to handle when they hit the plant leaves. But yeah, if you're doing 2 to 3 inches of water in a week, that's too much water. And again, assess your soil, because we have lots of sand out here, so we can deal with the water going away pretty quickly. And if your irrigation system ever breaks on you and makes a lake, how will the plants handle that? And this last summer we had 2 different times or 3 different times the system came apart and it caused a massive flood in the field around a whole bunch of pumpkin plants. And we left it alone. They did just fine, but they probably got 3 inches of water in a week or something like that. So
now your traveler, just out of curiosity, when you're talking about this, when I see it running, I'm guessing a couple 100 gallons per minute running out of it?
Yeah, right. It's basically the system that we have is like running a gigantic fire hose. Imagine that, like a big fire hose going in your arms back and forth. And it's the water dissipates some as it goes, but those droplets fall down and we have to be careful with how that nozzle is putting those droplets out there. So we figured with the speed in which it pulls the traveler back into itself, the actual sprinkler system, it's probably about like an inch of water a time for the plants. And it's a 40 horsepower pump running that machine by itself.
So if there's a break in the system, I could see there's a lot of water going out there.
And I can tell you this season, the breaks happen during the day. We've always said if the break happens at night when we're sleeping and the irrigation is running, we would never know. And you would come out to a disaster the next morning from that flooding. So.
Okay.
Another key thing to do when you're growing pumpkins is to make sure that if you're going to grow multiple varieties, don't place them super close together and expect when you do that for them to grow appropriately, because what happens is you have cross-pollination. And so the way we do it in our pumpkin patch, we designate certain areas of the field for different types of pumpkins, and we know where they come together, we're going to have crop loss guaranteed every year. And so this year, like every other year, we had some areas where the pumpkins were all rotten, where the polar bears, for example, came over to the carving pumpkins. And so you have to kind of throw an entire area out because they're no good, or they produce less amounts of pumpkins.
Okay, so what type of distance do they need to be apart?
Yeah, great question. You have bush, semi-bush, long vine, thick vine, all different kinds of plants that you can look at in a catalog, for example. And it tells you the spacing based on the documentation for the different kinds of seeds. And so what we usually do is we kind of say, you know what, we're not going to worry for us about this. We just plant them side by side and accept the loss. What you could do is put like a car width between them or something like that, maybe 8-10 feet between them. They're going to spread some. But when ours spread together, they overlap. We say that the bees get confused inside those plants, and they cross-pollinate where they come together. And some of the plants will smother other plants too. Right. So if you have a tight garden, just make sure that you're going to realize if you put very different varieties of things around each other, you're going to have some of that happen. And also, don't ever plant watermelon and cantaloupe side by side by pumpkins. It's a really bad idea. I know from years of experience, they taste like trash. So
yeah, I'll avoid that.
Yeah. And the last tip that I have about growing the perfect pumpkin is once the season comes to an end, don't wait too long to cut the pumpkin off the vine. Enjoy the pumpkin that you've grown. And if it's ripe and it's ready to go, the stem is nice and hard, go ahead and cut it off. If you wait too long, you can actually have rot go into your pumpkin from the stem, and it'll ruin the perfect pumpkin. So it's kind of a careful thing to watch over towards the end of your growing season. Make sure that you're watching to see when they're ready to cut off the vine. We fight this every single season, and we do it as best we can.
Everyone, I want to thank Matt Donald. To be honest, I know some of his family more than Matt, but the whole family's great. But Matt's a good community member, and he's been generous to share his time with me. So thank you very much, Matt. And if you judge a man by his kids, his daughter has gone through our school. She's wonderful. They got more coming. So he's got a good family, and he's got a good farm out here. So thank you very much. And thanks for joining me on the Flanagan Homestead, where Christmas trees are my business, teaching including horticulture is my job, and outdoor projects are my passion. Be blessed, everyone. Hope to see you again soon.